Hello everybody and welcome to music. All right, we are in the month of December and let's start with our hello song. Hello everybody, it's so nice to see you. How are you doing today? It's time now for music, for relaxation. Are you ready to hear now all that the musicians will play? Well, I hope you're really ready, 'cause I am ready. So, this week we're gonna study one of the most important composer of all time, and one of the most influential humans of all time. He changed the sound of the orchestra and responded to tremendous personal challenges by expressing humanity, hope, joy in ways that still inspire listeners. And this lesson that we're gonna listen, it's a celebration of life and legacy of this giant in music. So this is what we need right now. We really need to have our life enlightened by these beautiful, incredible creations made by humanity. And so let's start. And why it's so important to express our emotions through music. How Beethoven's life influenced his music, and how are these small ideas that we will see right away create a larger piece of music, like an orchestra. These are some of the questions that we're going to answer today with this lesson. And so, first of all, I want to show a picture of Beethoven, because here we are. This is the great composer, and during this lesson we're gonna play the music of Beethoven. And he was born about 250 years ago in 1770, and he wrote 4 magic notes that anybody will recognize, anybody will sing, will play, or will hum. Yes, this is Ludwig van Beethoven. And why do you think he's so famous? And why did you what do you know about him, and what makes his music so great? Ludwig van Beethoven is so important to the music world that the many orchestras in the world are devoting many concerts to his music. And so we're gonna start by listening to these famous 4 notes. All right, so I want your teacher to ask you, how can you change these 4 notes? For example, these are the 4 notes, right? Ta 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 ta. So how can we change them? Can you give me an example? Can you find 4 notes and to create a motif? So, for example, 4 notes motif. Or 4 notes. Da 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 da. Or back and forth. Anyway, who is more flexible with music can try to think about these 4 notes. And Beethoven was a passionate man who didn't hide his feelings. But in his days, most music didn't express much emotion. So he chose to change completely these in his composing. His music is said to stir the soul, expressing the emotion that humans universally experience. The emotion you feel when you hear this music it's connected to the way that we feel. These emotions are connected to the way that we are playing or we are doing anything in our daily lives. Everything is connected. So that's why music or art, it's a way to express and to find a path for these emotions, to creatively communicate with others. So when we have these emotions, we can socialize better. Or there are also artists that like to just be and play or draw or write by themselves. But I think school and classes are a great place to express these emotions. And so let's move on. So how Beethoven was able to make each of us feel something when we heard this music? Well, we can listen to the next symphony, which is the Symphony number 6, and it's the 4th movement. Sorry, the volume is not that high. Sometimes it depends on the video on YouTube. Yeah. So a symphony is both the name for an orchestra and the name for a piece of music that normally has 4 different movements. And so we can, during this lesson, we can't play all the movements, but the title of the 4 movements for the Symphony number 6, for example, are cheerful feeling after arriving in the country, scene at the brook, happy gathering of country folk, and there are 2 more for number 6. So that's an exception. Thunderstorm, actually 1 more, and the Stiffer's song, cheerful and thankful feeling after the storm. We often expect music to tell a story, and this is Prokofiev. But in Beethoven's time, the idea that you could tell a story through a symphony was something completely new. So he was the first of this kind. And for example, if we hear this let's see. So the idea here, it's incredible, and it's to this is what I wanted to try to do with your teachers. I wanted to hear Beethoven music and write or draw something while you're hearing it, and internalize and try to have a vision of something that is happening. And if you have like a negative emotion, or you're sad that day, it's also okay to express your emotions, but you also have to have a teacher that that can understand this. And because normally you don't want to, if you have a difficult day, then it's classical music. It's kind of sometimes hard to to let your emotions go. So it's also important to have your teacher facilitate your experience and give you maybe some input, or ask you to create like a space or an image before you listen to the music. And I also want to read you something. Prince, what you are by the accident of birth. What I am, I have made of myself. There are and there will be thousands of princes. There is only one, Beethoven. And next, we're gonna so that piece that we just heard was a brainstorm, and so we could also hear like a thunderstorm. So to conclude this piece, so that's why the thunderstorm can be like a negative moment, or can be a moment of fear. And so what do you feel during a thunderstorm? What do you feel during a moment of fear? Even animals feel so much fear when they hear the sound of a thunderstorm. And dogs especially. So I want you to look again at the title for the movement from Symphony number 6, and I'm gonna ask you if the emotions that Beethoven created are mostly pleasant or unpleasant, positive or negative. And so again, before Beethoven's music, composer usually wanted their music to convey agreeable feelings, but Beethoven was bold enough to also express weakness, devastation, and other unhappy emotions. That's why I feel that this lesson today is very important, but it's also important to for our students to be walked by hand through these emotions, especially at this time. On the other hand, this is a great opportunity to let these emotions out. And so we can, for example, using percussions, we can find like a thunderstorm. This is just an idea, but so next we're gonna do the Symphony number 3, Eroica, and the second movement. And while we are listening to this one, can you write down different emotions that you are hearing to describe this music. Because Beethoven wanted to wrote this music for a funeral march, and even though they were common in the early 1800s, it was considered a bold new idea, and to include one as a movement for a symphony. So again, he was the first to do this, and let's hear it. And I also want to try to go. This is almost the end of the piece, but okay, this was the end, and I wanted just to hear the difference from the beginning. I wanted you to hear it, but so he composed this symphony after he spent a lot of months in Vienna, and he found out that his deafness was irreversible. So that's why this movement is very sad. However, it concludes with a very hopeful tone. So I want you to think about a difficult time that you have experienced, and I want you to project these. I want you to think about this difficult time and to write something about it. And that's what I was saying during this lesson. It can be risky and it can be not so good to focus on negative emotions. However, we are human and we cannot really avoid some of the sufferings that happen to everybody. And so we are when we are sad, we comfort our sadness, also finding out that we are human, that everybody goes through this sadness, and we're just not alone. And so Beethoven Final Symphony, the Symphony number 9, will take us to the opposite of our emotions, with a theme that I'm sure everybody knows. Everybody on earth knows, Ode to Joy. And so I want you to listen to this piece, and I want you to raise your hand if you heard it before, okay? Okay, and I want to try to listen to another version from the computer so that the volume will be a little bit higher. And this is Riccardo Muti. He's an important Italian conductor. Okay, one moment. So, on May 7, 1824, Beethoven shared his Ninth Symphony with the world, even though he could never hear it. It makes me cry, this story. It's so intense. And on May 7, 2015, there is a celebration of the anniversary of Beethoven's most glorious and jubilant masterpiece with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. So my lesson was inspired today and by the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. And this is the Italian Riccardo Muti playing with this orchestra, which is an honor, and to remember this giant. And I really hope you can continue to learn about his life, because this is just a tiny bit of it. but it was really fun, and my incredible joy to share a little bit about his life. And to conclude my lesson, because my speaker didn't work very well, I really want to make sure that you ask your teacher to play again Ode to Joy, so that you can we can end with a very positive note, knowing that we can transform any suffering into joy. And I see you next week. Bye.